Hi, my name is Greg Harvey. I'm here with Keegan and Bodie, my two daughters, and we are here to congratulate Elaine Harvey. Back in 1982, our family actually moved from Virginia Beach all the way to Huntington, West Virginia. And who knew what kind of an impact that was actually going to make in the autism community? As my brother's autism progressed, my parents always seek to look for ways to make my brother's life better, and they have never stopped. And we are so thankful that we've been able to move to Huntington and for her to get involved. As many of you know, she was actually involved with the National Autism Society. She served there for many years, and she's done so much for the local communities for autism as well. Many years ago, she actually started a walk for autism to raise money for research in the area. And since doing that, it has grown into a major event, and it's grown into a walk, a run, and actually a bike, and they call it the Rally for Autism. The past couple of years, due to COVID, last year and this year, unfortunately, the event did not run. However, we're looking forward to getting that event to running again. So we wanted to say thank you for taking the time to recognize my mom and all her efforts, the impact she has made in the autism community, not only nationally, but locally there in Huntington. And we just want to say thanks for doing that. So Mom, want to say congratulations and
congratulations, Grammy.
And my wife Lori wishes she was here too to say congratulations. Unfortunately, she is out of town as we're doing this video. But Mom, I love you. Thank you for all you've done for my brother and the autism community.
Welcome, everyone, to our virtual celebration of the Ruth Sullivan Rally for Autism and its founding organizer, the one and only Elaine Harvey. Greg, I want to thank you so much for that opening. That was just terrific. And it's the first time your mom has seen it, and I think she got a little misty-eyed there. We are certainly here at the Autism Training Center in a makeshift studio. We're not at Ritter Park, as we would have been this morning. Many of you know that the morning of this annual Rally for Autism is one of the most spectacular mornings that any of us have during the entire year. There were thousands of people at Ritter Park. They're walking, they're riding, there's a timed run. They're buying raffle tickets. They're catching up with each other. They're showing support and love for people on the spectrum and their families. It's just a marvelous, marvelous, marvelous morning. And they're eating pizza, thanks to our sponsor, Papa John's. It's a great, great morning. So we really sorely missed that we couldn't be doing that last year or this year. As Greg said, due to the pandemic, it had to be canceled. But we did not want to miss the opportunity to honor the one and only unbelievable, amazing work, tireless work of Elaine Harvey. We're here to thank her and show her our appreciation. I also want to welcome our guests. We have some very special guests here in the room, and they'll all be speaking and paying tribute to you. And I want to thank those of you that are participating virtually. It means a lot to us that you've tuned in. Speaking of tuning in, on your screens, you will see a button to the left of your screen that says donate. If you're able and you can, to please help us out. The money that has been raised from the Rally for Autism is split equally between 3 local autism agencies. That's the Autism Training Center at Marshall, the Autism Services Center, and the Autism Society of River Cities. The money stays local. It means so much to all of these groups that are doing everything they can to provide direct and important resources and services. So please, if you can, click on that donate button. Now, Elaine, yeah. I'd like to bring in this beautiful quilt that's behind us. Elaine just shared with me before we went on air that this was an early Mother's Day present made by her family, which I think is just phenomenal. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, actually, my son, Greg, his mother-in-law, made the quilt out of the shirts that he had saved from the rally. Of course, Greg and Lori and Keegan and Bodie come every year to the rally, and so they had a collection of T-shirts and honored me with giving me a quilt made by Karen Newell, who is his mother-in-law. And I really am excited about that, and I thought, what a nice thing to display today.
It's just beautiful. It really is. Wow. Well, before we go any further, Elaine, I want to let our audience know just some real fast facts about how this rally has grown, not just in participants, but in sponsors as well. So, somewhere around 2001, a group of people got together and said, hey, we should have a walk. So,
Actually, one parent walked into my office. I had an office at Bank One Chase on Fifth Avenue. So my window office on Fifth Avenue. I'm sitting there, and this parent walks in and says, you know, we ought to have a walk, or you ought to have a walk. And I said, okay, we need to have a discussion. So she proceeded to leave, and I was sitting there discussing with myself, how are we going to have a walk? And that parent, along with many other parents and professionals that are helping with these three agencies, got together and decided to have a walk. In the first year, we had 220 participants in the snow. But
freezing
they didn't
cold.
keep them from showing up. And as soon as the walk was over and everybody left, there was nothing going on left in the park that day.
Do you remember we stood on picnic tables and shouted at the crowd?
Oh, yeah.
Welcome! It was a little nuts. And again, it was snowing. We'll never forget that. Didn't deter Elaine. No. Would not deter her. 2 years later, she added a bike ride. And the year after that, she added a timed run, which was a really big draw. We have so many runners in this area in West Virginia, Ohio, and Kentucky. So the crowds grew. That first year, there might have been maybe 100 people. The next year, maybe 200 people. And in 2019, which was the last year that we could have a rally, there were over 1,400 people in attendance. That's just the people that registered to walk or run or ride. There were so many more people. So it's just phenomenal what you've done. You grew from 7 sponsors to 43 sponsors. You grew from raising $10,000 that first year, again, split among the 3 agencies, and you grew that to a little over $500,000 in 2019. That's just phenomenal. It really is.
And it was all because of everybody participating and chipping in and helping where they could. This was not just me.
Well, this is a woman that knows how to get the right people on the bus. She's a woman who has passion. More importantly, she has vision. She didn't just say, let's keep doing a walk, let's grow it, let's keep going and going and going. And you did just that. She dots every I, and I worked alongside of her for a long time, and she makes you work. I mean, she doesn't miss a detail, and that's what makes this event so fantastic, and we thank you.
Well, I thank you for talking about it, and I couldn't have done it without my mentor, Ruth Sullivan. I contacted Ruth Sullivan before I moved to Huntington and got to know her a little bit on the phone. And when I moved here, and actually physically moved in 1982, I met with Ruth, and she was working at the time on the state society and a local society. And needless to say, she reeled me in, and I learned a lot from Ruth.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, now Elaine will tell you that she doesn't deserve this tribute. She doesn't deserve all of these accolades and this big celebration that we're putting on for her. But I hope that by the end of our show, and after hearing the speakers that you're about to hear, she'll feel a little differently and realize, indeed, she does definitely deserve this tribute. Absolutely. So our first speaker, I'm pleased to introduce Cheryl Cook. Cheryl is the president of the Autism Society of the River Cities. That's Kentucky, Ohio, and West Virginia. And she does a fabulous job. And I'd like to present Cheryl. Now, we're going to play musical chairs here, so I have a feeling I'm going to be the one left out. But here I go. Here comes Cheryl.
Thank you, Barbara. Let's see, where do I start? The Autism Society of River Cities was started in the early 80s as the Huntington Area Autism Society by Dr. Ruth Sullivan. When the Autism Society did a realignment, we changed our name to the Autism Society of River Cities in hopes to include the individuals from Kentucky and Ohio. Let's see, working with Elaine. That has been interesting over the past probably 18 years. When you say, Elaine?
Something like that.
But the one year in 2010, Elaine had a heart attack about a month before the rally. And she's calling me and she's like, Cheryl, we're worrying about stuff and talking and saying this needs to be done, that needs to be, and calling. And I'm like, Elaine, you need your rest. And I was like, Elaine, if it's not done by now, it doesn't need to be done.
Of course, I was calling her from my hospital bed.
So that's how dedicated this woman is to the rally, to individuals on the spectrum, and the people that we serve through our organization. Autism Society of River Cities is a strictly volunteer organization. We are a local affiliate of the National Autism Society. We serve people in the tri-state area. And the funding that we use from the rally, our 1/3 that we split with the other two organizations, we use that to provide parties for our parents and our families that some of our children, they're unable to attend, like regular parties and things that typical kids do. So we try to provide a judgment-free zone for our kids. We have like Christmas parties, Halloween parties, we have swim parties. We even rent out the local Pump Up the Fun inflatable for just our children. So that way they're in a judgment-free zone. They have no problem from other children. It's just our families. And that's what we've done with some of the funding. We send our parents to the Autism Society Conference, and where they go and learn more about the ASD and bring it back to our area and have meetings and talk about what they've heard or what they've learned from those meetings. So that's part of what we use our funding for from our part of the rally. And Elaine, is there any specific trip that we've been on that brings to mind?
Well, in 2012, we went to San Diego, which was kind of a reunion for me because my husband Bill had helped with the Cycle USA ride that was a fundraiser done by the National Society, where they left from New York City in April and went to San Diego by way of many cities where we had events for local agencies, and that's the way the route was established. If a local agency or chapter signed up to have an event, their location was made a dot on the route. And they went, like I said, from New York to San Diego in 3 months. Bill drove the truck that had Cycle USA on it to draw attention to the event. Because if you just have a bunch of bicycle riders, you know, if you're not identifying them all, it's not that big of a deal. But they went from city to city, and I would be at work, and Bill would call me well, we're in such and such city. Who do I meet and where do I go? And so, ending up in 2012, after that was done several years prior, they actually we had the event in 2012 at San Diego in the same place that ASA ended the Psycho USA event. So that was kind of special for us.
That San Diego was a really fun conference. We went up the Pacific Coast Highway. We went to Coronado Island. We went to the hotel where Marilyn Monroe filmed Some Like It Hot. And we even went, I remember Elaine was saying, because Sandy and I wasn't able to get a flight out, and we were staying an extra day because we didn't get the flight. Well, Elaine's all up, getting ready. She's about ready to walk out the door for us to take her to the airport, and the airline calls. I'm sorry, but your flight has been delayed, and you may not make your connecting flight. And Elaine's like, well, just put me on the flight with Cheryl Cook and Sandy Evans. So Elaine ended up getting to spend an extra day with us, and we got to go down to the ocean. And I've spent a lot of good times with Elaine.
Well, and Cheryl's been my right hand. As I took on more with the rally, she needed to take on more with the chapter itself. So it's worked out really well.
Now we have a really good working relationship, I do believe, over the past few years.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah. I love you.
Thank you. I love you too.
Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you. I've been reminded that I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Barbara Becker Cottrell, former director of the West Virginia Autism Training Center at Marshall University. And I didn't introduce myself. I thought y'all knew me. So it's me. So Elaine, let's talk a little bit more about your initial involvement in the Autism Society, the local Autism Society. It was then the Huntington Area Autism Society. HASAC, yeah. And I can tell a bit of a story here. I first came to Huntington for the job in 1990. And Ruth Sullivan was taking me around on my first 2 days, and she handed me an envelope, and she said, in this envelope is membership to the Autism Society of America and the Huntington Area Autism Society. Fill it out now. Boom. So I did, and I walked into my first meeting. I think it was at a church, and there you were. First time I ever met you, and I was so impressed. I mean, here, 1990, there wasn't a whole lot going on with autism and resources, and here was Elaine, even before 1990, but gathering this group of families and just providing resources and support and comfort. Truly, truly wonderful. So go ahead, tell us
Well,
more.
I have to say, your discussion there reminded me of Ruth, because Ruth was just so instrumental in autism nationally and from coast to coast. And before the training center was established here at Marshall, she had gone before the state legislature, and she had a breakfast to talk to the legislators, trying to get the bill to go through to establish the training center. And that was a very formidable event, because she arranged the seating arrangement at this breakfast. A legislator, a parent, a kid. A legislator, a parent, a kid. So those legislators saw autism face to face at that breakfast. And needless to say, after that event, the training center was established through the legislature.
And the hard work of parents that were part of the Huntington area, the local
Right.
society, certainly you, of course. Well, that's I love that story. I really do. And of course, everybody knows that Rain Man premiered in Huntington, West Virginia. That's, We're pretty cool here, folks. Right now, I'd like to bring on Jimmy Byrne. Jimmy is the executive director of the Autism Services Center, a wonderful, wonderful agency established by Ruth Sullivan. I know, Elaine, you serve on the board
Yes.
and has been very involved in the Autism Services Center. So, Jimmy Byrne.
Hello,
Hello.
glad to be here. It's a good day to talk a lot about some really good things that you have done, and you deserve every accolade that you're going to hear today. I wanted to start out just by telling the folks that are watching us today a little bit about Autism Services Center. We're a comprehensive behavioral health center serving individuals with autism and other developmental disabilities in West Virginia, Ohio, and Kentucky. And some of the services that we provide are 24-hour residential supports, applied behavior analysis treatment, speech therapy, occupational therapy, physical therapy. I won't go into all the array of services we provide, but if you're interested, you can go to autismservicescenter.org and look at the services we provide. And if you have any questions, we'd love for you to give us a call. And Autism Services Center has been around for a good while. It's I think 42 years now. We became incorporated in 1979, and Dr. Ruth Sullivan is our founder and was CEO until 2007 when she retired. And our office started in Ruth Sullivan's dining room, and her desk was her dining room table. And so Ruth provided advocacy services and information and referral services. So we've started with one person and have grown to over 400 employees working in 3 states. So thankfully, we had Ruth Sullivan come to Huntington, West Virginia in the late 60s and see that there were no services around, so she started her own services for her son and others. But we have another very special person here, and that's you, Elaine. You have a long history with Autism Services Center as well. I think I met you in 1988 when you came to Autism Services Center for services, 24-hour services for Dawn. And I remember the first day I met you, I knew this was going to be a lady that was very actively involved in her son's life. And I think you have demonstrated that over and over. And I know that you've always worked very hard to ensure that Donald had a high quality of life, that he was engaged, he was doing things of his interest, that he had a paid job, that he had communication options, and you've worked very hard to ensure that Donald had a voice and that people heard that voice. How many conversations have you and I had over the years, over 3 decades, about how we can help Donald communicate better? And
We've made progress, but we're not there yet.
that's right. We still have work to go, but you've always been very active in everything that we've done for Donald, and we've always appreciated that active level of involvement that you've had. And of course, I've worked with you very closely because you've been on the board of directors at Autism Services Center for what, 25 years?
I've lost
Around there. And I think 20 of those years you were vice president and secretary. So you've been very actively involved in our board of directors. And I think every major decision that we've made in the last 25 years, you've been a part of that. And so we're very thankful for that. You have brought a parent perspective to our board, which is so important in the direction and decisions that we make. I think anyone that knows you will tell you you're a very driven person. You want to get things done, and you're ready to roll up your sleeves to get those things done as well. And just the ideas that you have. I think anyone that knows you would say you're an ideas person. You're willing to think outside the box, and to create supports and services to meet people's needs, whatever those needs looks like. And so I just wanted to tell you, you've just been very inspirational to me, and just your willingness to serve. I'm just so impressed. The time you've put into helping others and organizations is so impressive. Just to give you an example, I've probably given your number to hundreds and hundreds of people, a lot of parents. I know I've given your number to a lot of parents who has had a child diagnosed with autism, that needed to talk to another parent that's walked in their shoes. And you've always been willing to talk with parents and guide them and give them information and, talk about the fears and uncertainties surrounding a diagnosis. And I've just been so impressed with your willingness to put yourself out to help others.
Well, thank you, Jimmy. I feel like actually our being in Huntington is due to God. He put us here because he knew that we could be instrumental in helping other people that are in the same situation that we were in.
Sure.
And without God's will in this, none of this would have happened.
Sure.
But I thank him for opening the right doors
Right.
at the right time.
Well, and another example of just you serving others is, you were quite instrumental in establishing our special needs classroom at church.
Oh,
And-
right.
And we put a lot of work into that. And, we wanted to give the individuals with autism a place to go and get a Bible lesson and have fun doing it, and give the parents a chance to attend a church service. And I just know that anytime when I walked down to the classroom, you were there and you were ready to go. And sometimes our classes got pretty active, if you
Yeah.
remember.
I do remember.
And we were kind of tired when we were done.
Yeah.
But I always appreciate that, and that's just a lasting memory for me of just how hard you work for other people. I'm just really so impressed. And
Well, I appreciate that.
absolutely. And I just wanted to tell everybody that's listening today, Autism Services Center is one of the beneficiary agencies receiving proceeds from the Autism Rally and this event. And I just wanted to give you just a little information about how we spend the money. We assist families paying for services, things like co-pays or deductibles or associated costs. Some of the money goes to help families. Some of the money goes to assist the folks we serve, our clients, to purchase things that they need, personal items, clothing, whatever. And we also assist our staff with educational assistance if they apply for a tuition scholarship to be able to take a class that's job relevant, that's going to help them in their job. So all three of those reasons are very important to us, and we're just so thankful to be part of this. And just in closing, I just want you to know that we're so appreciative of all you've done and all you continue to do, and just the work you do to advance awareness and advocacy is so impressive. And we love you and so thankful for you, and just want you to know you're appreciated.
Well, thank you. We love you all too, and love this whole autism family, which it is a family.
Absolutely. Great. Thanks.
Thank you.
Are you starting to be convinced that maybe you do deserve this tribute? Well, we all feel so, for sure. I just have one sort of follow-up question. The Autism Services Center, of course, was very important to you, and you moved from Virginia to here because did you hear about Ruth, or how did you find out about the Services Center and Ruth?
I heard about Ruth after I was told that we were moving to Huntington, West Virginia, because, with Bill's job with the Dial Corporation. So our placements have always been done through Dial because his job was what moved us around the country. But as I stated, God always had a hand in that. So we didn't ask to come to Huntington because of the autism connection, but God knew that autism connection was here. So
And
I
we,
learned about Ruth through ASA and the fact that we were moving to Huntington, and that's where I found the connection and contacted her prior to moving here.
Hmm.
So I knew she was here, and she knew I was coming, and she was going to put me to work when I got here. And she did.
and you followed the tradition,
And I-
didn't you?
yeah. Ruth says, and you do.
That's right. That's great. Well, now I'd like to bring on another person who is very thankful for all you've done. He knows you very, very well, and that is Mark Ellison, who is the director, the executive director of the West Virginia Autism Training Center at Marshall University. Here's Mark.
Hey. Thank you, Barbara. You know, it occurred to me as I was sitting there that I've been lucky in my career to have 3 women that I think I would consider mentors or people that I really looked up to. 2 of them are in the room right now. You certainly. Dr. Cottrell is the other, and then Ruth Sullivan. I don't see how you could have 3 greater mentors in your life.
Thank you.
Does it feel like a little bit like this is your life right now?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. Keep
When do
waiting.
we get to Queen for a day?
Yeah, I keep waiting for somebody to pop out from behind the curtain. And you know, I was listening earlier to your son, and I think you've mentioned a couple of times you came to Huntington in 82, which was just a year before the Autism Training Center started. And you must have watched then the whole evolution of the Autism
I
Training
did.
Center.
And I went to that legislative breakfast too.
Yeah, that's a great story. You have a minute to tell that story?
Well, I just did.
Oh, I must have been
Ruth,
the rest of it.
Ruth organized this legislative breakfast trying to convince the legislators to pass the bill to create the Autism Training Center.
Yeah.
So, but the thing that she did that was so interesting was her seating arrangement, which she designed. You had a legislator, a parent, and a kid.
Yeah.
A legislator, a parent, and a kid. So there was no way for the legislators not to see
Right.
what was going on in the room with those families.
And I was able 2 or 3 years ago to interview Ruth in a really long, comprehensive interview to get some of those things on tape. And she told that story, and I asked her if that was a true story because that's a rumor. You know, kind of I was afraid it was an urban legend,
Oh,
and no, it was
it was
legitimately
a
true.
true
Yeah.
story.
And I know that for years she'd been trying to get that legislation, and probably that kind of stunt was what helped get it
Oh,
done.
I'm sure it did. I'm sure it did.
The Autism Training Center, which again started in 1983, has had such a really interesting evolution, and to be here and watch that must have been cool. For instance, you worked closely with Dr. Glenn Dunlap when he was here.
Yes, I did.
I remember one of the times right before you left for South Florida, I think you had a going away party for him at your home. I think I was there and probably drank too much wine or something. I remember that night, but I remember having fun at the party.
Well, I hope you have fun in country.
He was a wonderful guy.
Yeah,
Wonderful
he
guy.
is.
Did a lot for West Virginia. I know you were close. You are close to him, or were close to
Yeah.
him. like I said, the training centers evolved so much over the years. In the very beginning of the training center, people were expected to come to campus and from all over the state and kind of learn how to support their children. And then eventually it evolved to us going out across the state. And we have services that we provide, multi-tiered services. We provide all over the state in all 55 counties. And I don't know that a lot of people know, for instance, that we have a satellite office in Fairmont. We have a satellite office in Parkersburg, and have a couple of folks up in the Eastern Panhandle. So we're all over the place doing a lot of really good regional work.
And it's been really exciting for me to watch that grow, as well as Services Center, because I hadn't really thought about it, but sitting here today, I have seen a lot.
Yeah.
I have been involved in
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah.
As far as autism goes.
The list just keeps growing. I mean, and over a lifetime, those things I think get lost. That's why I think it's important to keep talking about it and memorializing it like we're doing now. For those of you who also don't know, we at the training center have a college support program. We were the first in the country to develop that in 2002. And we support about 60 students every year who are getting a traditional degree here at Marshall, which is a really cool thing to be involved with too. And you may not know that 5 years ago we started we're kind of carrying on the work that Glenn Dunlap did in lots of ways. We're in schools working with them to develop positive behavior support programming, and that's not an autism specific program, but it helps students with autism. If you can improve culture and climate in a school for all students, then students with autism benefit from that. So we're happy to do that too. I was thinking, as Jimmy was talking earlier about when he met you for the first time, I was trying to think, I think we met in 85 or 86. I'm sure it's burned into your memory about our first meeting. But I think early we went to some HASAC meetings early on, and those were so dynamic. I remember just being amazed at how many people we would have there. Sometimes we'd have 30, 40 people
Oh, yeah.
and they were so dynamic. People were thirsting for information, weren't they?
Yes, they were, because there wasn't much information out there. You didn't have the World Wide Web where you could just go and Google whatever, trying to find information.
No.
It was pulling it like pulling teeth. And we would have good speakers, though, people working in the autism subject area. And we would have teachers and professionals. We learned a lot in those days.
Yeah.
We really did.
And there was a real camaraderie
Yeah.
too. I think as I was a kid watching that happen, it was obvious to me that there was something special happening in those meetings and in Huntington.
Absolutely. And of course, you went everywhere you could to find whatever information you could, and getting, for the lack of a better word, babysitters to come in your home and stay with your child with autism. That was a hard thing to find. And you'll remember that we found you, or you found us, I'm not sure where.
I'm pretty sure you found me.
And Mark would come to the house and stay with both the boys, Donald and Greg. And lots of times it would just be Don would stay home with Mark, and it would enable Bill and I to take Greg and have a typical family outing without having to worry about a disabled child.
As much as and we joke around about that. For instance, I often tell you that, I would go through your drawers while you were gone, but I never did. But as much as we joke about that, I always appreciated the trust that you had in me to do that, because I was a really young kid. I was maybe 20 or 21, and you trusted me, and that was something that was really important to me.
Well, of course, you would have to trust somebody you were leaving your child with, not to mention it was a disabled child who couldn't tell you couldn't tell a tale on the babysitter.
Well, that's true.
So
That's true.
that's where communication would have come in.
But I'll tell you, one of the most important lessons I learned, I remember being in that situation. I think you guys were gone for several days, and Don was learning to use pictures to communicate, and he was just learning to do it. And I'm almost positive that the pictures he had was maybe soup in the bathroom or something. But I remember calling you so excited that he had picked up one of those cards and handed it to me.
And that was exciting.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, because he was actually communicating
Yeah, yeah.
and giving me a picture of the TV, telling me he wanted to watch TV.
I know.
And it's just amazing how it worked.
Yeah. I've worked with you in a number of ways since, besides hanging out at your house. But
Going through my
we're
doors.
going through your doors. But running, working with you, people probably don't know I supervised a home that Don lived in for a number of years, and we often spent time at planning meetings and treatment team meetings talking through certain things. I learned as much about families and autism and working together with people from those experiences as I ever did in school or any other classes. It just really helped me grow as a person and as a human being, and I thank you for that.
Oh, well, you're welcome. I just was doing what I do, trying to get people to work together.
And
I never had time for fights and stuff like that, and I just didn't put up with it.
you were a good mediator. You were. You weren't interested in fighting. I'm really saddened we're not able to have the public walk, and I feel certain we're going to be back next year just as strong or stronger. And it is important for me to say that those funds are missed. We do miss them. We here at the training center use our third to directly support students with autism, individuals with autism across the state. A big part of what we do is fund our really comprehensive lending library. We have a free library for anyone who's registered with us across the state who wants to get a book about how to toilet train, or about ABA therapy, or about Temple Grandin's books, for instance. It's a really comprehensive lending library, and that takes a lot of money to continue to kind of keep things current and to make sure you have all the current information. Those kinds of things are the things that we use the funds for from the rally, and you've been instrumental in helping us keep that going. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. That's very important.
Yeah.
It really is.
I agree. Well, the next person I think who wants to talk just for a moment, someone that's worked with you in a number of ways too, and I know her mostly as administrator from the state Department of Education. But let me bring in, and we'll try to do this in a way that doesn't look too awkward. Let me bring in Diana Whitlock.
Hello, Elaine.
Hello, Diane.
I am Diana Whitlock, and I do work at the West Virginia Department of Education. And Elaine, let's go back to 1992, First Huntington National Bank, where we first met. Now, how many years were you at the bank?
22.
22. Wow. Okay. So when I started as a 19, almost 20-year-old, I knew nothing about banking. I worked in, if you remember, in the loan department, and you were up on trust. Was that, what floor was that? Third floor. Okay. Well, I remember you as a role model. For the next 10 years that I would work there, I would get to know you over the years, and I would marvel at your professionalism, your quiet strength, your poise and your grace, your fierce determination to make things right and always do the right thing. And that awesome sense of style that you had, I always marveled over your shoes. I wore heels, but you wore high heels. And I don't think you wore the same pair of shoes in 10 years, because I thought you always had you were always so well put together, and you still are today. Look at you. Everything on you matches and coordinates. And that is your attention to detail that you always have, whether it is your outfit, whether it is a document, whether it is anything that represents you. You are very attentive to that detail, and I appreciate that. I've learned a lot from you over the years. So, fast forward to 2017, and we are in Milwaukee. I am standing in the hotel lobby, and I look over, and I told my husband, I said, "Oh my gosh, I think that's Elaine Harvey." And he said, "Who? What?" And so I left him, and I rushed over to you, and I said, do you remember what I said? I said, "Elaine Harvey."
What are you doing here?
Yeah, I said, "Is that you? What are you doing here? You're supposed to be in Huntington." And we both hugged each other, and we laughed, and we asked each other what we were doing here at this National Autism Society conference. She told me that she has a son with autism, and she was president of Autism Society River Cities. And then I shared with her that I had left banking, went into education, was a special education teacher of students with autism, and then I went to the State Department to become the state autism coordinator. So that's why we were both there. And I think from that conference, we started reuniting, and that's when I really got to know you. Your determination and your dedication to making sure people understood autism, making sure people understood about individuals with autism, and that determination was so contagious, and it was so helpful for me in my early career as a state autism coordinator, that I learned from you. And you quickly pulled me into so many activities, and quickly pulled me into being one of the organizers on the Rally for Autism. And I want to say thank you for that. Not only have you taught me just by being a role model, me observing you, but even working with you on those rally documents, you could spot one space off of the whole line out of the whole document. And you have a very keen eye, and you're very detail oriented, and I do appreciate that. You're very organized, and you're very passionate about people, especially people with autism, but people in general. And I want to say thank you for that. I have some messages I have to share on my phone from some of our friends from the bank. So if you don't mind, I'm going to read straight from my phone. Okay. This is from Jim Fitzwater. Remember Jim?
Mm-hmm.
Elaine, my friend, I will never forget your words of encouragement and your prayers for situations and storms in my life. Your smile and caring nature always brightens my day. Thank you for giving of yourself and blessing others. The next one is from Debbie Alois Ours. When I think of autism, I think of Elaine Harvey. She made it her mission to spread the word and work to help her son and others with autism. God bless you, Elaine, for your work and your mission. This is from Teresa Pratt. I truly love working with Elaine for many years in the trust department of a local bank. What a joy it was to work with such a kind-spirited friend. She has a heart of gold and an example of grace and compassion to us all. So Elaine, from the bank community to the Tri-State River Cities community, from our autism community, we have something very special because you have touched all of our lives. And we would like to honor you with a small token. This is the Ruth C. Sullivan Autism Champion Award that we would like to present to you in honor of your dedication and your work in the autism community.
Thank you very much. Thank you all.
Thank you.
That's very, very special. And all of your words have been very, very special. I still don't think I deserve all this, but I am glad I have been a token to your all's lives, because you have certainly been a big token to my life.
Oh, now I'm gonna cry too. Well, wait, there's more. You may not know, but Ruth has not only been an advocate and a legend in the local community, the tri-state area and West Virginia, but she's also had a very prominent national uh, picture, vision. You've done a lot at the national level. And well, we've got someone here who really wanted to be here, but he's going to talk about you in a video presentation. And he is Dr. Jim Ball, CEO of JB Consulting and former board chair of the Autism Society of America Board of Directors.
Hey, Elaine. Congratulations on your big award. It's no more deserving to any other person that I know, especially for all you've done for the Huntington, West Virginia area and Kentucky, and what you've done for the Autism Society there, what you've done for the Autism Training Center, what you've done with the Autism Services Center, and just, all the great things you've done in your career to help people with an autism spectrum disorder. I'm not going to sit here and pour on all the accolades because everybody's going to do that. And they're all true. And I support them totally. However, I'm going to tell a story about how we first met. And I think you remember because you tell it to me a lot. And the first time we met, you and I had just been elected board members of the Autism Society of America. And that's back in the days when it was an elected board. So we had to go through a whole voting process in order to be elected. And it was a big deal. We were elected, and there were 3 seats on the board available. One was for 3 years, one was for 2 years, and one was for 1 year. And we were trying to figure out, okay, who's going to take the 3-year stint, who's going to do 2 years, who's going to do 1 year. And we were in Vegas, if you remember correctly. It was at Bally's. And we're sitting around trying to figure it out. And you came up with, we should roll dice. So the highest number would get the 3-year, the lowest number would get the next 2 year, and then 1 year, in succession. So, of course, we roll the dice, and I get 1 year, and you get 3 years. And I was a little upset I got the 1 year, but not totally, because you did get the 3 year. And the knowledge base you brought to the Autism Society of America, and especially in those times when we were financially, struggling, you came on nationally and did so much great things. I mean, just the drive across, the Bike Across America campaign, and all the things that we did, together. It is just amazing, and love you to death. And this award, in recognition, it's a long time coming, and hopefully I will see you very, very soon, and enjoy the rest of your night. Have a great time.
Thank you, Dr. Ball. That was great. I love the story about being in Vegas and rolling the dice to see who gets the longer term to serve on the board. And I'm really happy it was you, because Jim is so spot on. You did a lot to improve finances. And we've got someone here present with us in our makeshift studio. He is the CEO and president of the Autism Society of America. And please, let's all welcome Chris Banks, who's come a long way to be here with us to celebrate.
Thank you. It's good to see you again.
Nice to see you.
I think you recall that the last time I got to see you was right before the pandemic over at the Marshall Cafe.
Right.
And one of my lasting impressions about that was how many people stopped you to ask you or talk to you about the walk, the rally that was at that time still on, because we hadn't had the pandemic closure. That was quite an experience. My predecessor, Scott Badish, is the one who told me I had to come to Marshall, see the great work that was happening in the community with autism. And he insisted that I make sure I make time to see you. So I was grateful that Cheryl did that, and thank you for doing that for me. I appreciate that.
Well, I'm glad you desired to do that.
and it was more than just a desire. It's about the ability to stand on the shoulders of greatness. And I get to do that. I get to do that because I got to meet you. At that trip, I also had the privilege and the honor of meeting Ruth Sullivan for the first time. And I got to meet the people who were a part of founding the Autism Society of America and perpetuating its legacy. And I'm very grateful for that. So thank you.
You're welcome.
So I'd like to tell one quick story because I was invited to do this and I said, I'm going to do a little history searching. So I talked with Barbara and we looked at it, and I also wanted to talk about it because this is Autism Acceptance Month now. We have, the Autism Society of America has taken the precedent of making an official change from autism awareness to acceptance because, as you know from Donald, many people may be aware, but it's more important that he be accepted for who he is. Right? And
Absolutely.
and I heard that when you talked to me, and I heard it when I talked to other parents who have gone on the journey with their children, right? And this journey and helping them to be more accepted in the community. I'm a firm believer that acceptance leads to inclusion, and inclusion leads to a sense of belonging. And it's important to know that somebody has autism. It's even more important to figure out how to engage them in the community, right? And I think that your rally has done that, hasn't it?
I think so.
Right. Well, I can tell you it has, because the measure of a person sometimes is about the impact they've had on other people's lives, not about what they've amassed. And you've had a tremendous impact in the autism community in the Valley, but also nationally and worldwide. So that brings me to the story. So when we wanted to name the Autism Acceptance Month, and I did some history, I found out in 1972, the Autism Society of America, then called the National Society of Children with Autism, created Autism Awareness Month, and it was designated to be in August. In 1977, they started to move it around, and they decided to move it to January. Well, you, not yet a board member of the Autism Society of America, being an advocate for your son and the autism community, said, and I'm paraphrasing, something to the effect of, it's the dumbest month to have an awareness month. There's snow. We'll never be able to do a walk. And people are still paying their Christmas bills. Let's do it in April. And April has become Autism Month around the world. And now April is becoming Autism Acceptance Month. So again, I get to initiate something standing on the shoulders of greatness. So thank you very much for doing that for us.
Thank you for sharing that story. I don't know that I knew all of it.
Oh, I've been doing my homework, and Barbara and I got some of that detail together, so I was grateful for that. And I also heard a little bit about Milwaukee just now. And what some people may not know is that in 2017, in Milwaukee, you were named the Autism Advocate of the Year, for the Volunteer of the Year, by the Autism Society of America. Well deserved. I went back in history and I thought, wow, the affiliate was started in 1982 and it took them that long to recognize this woman? But on behalf of the Autism Society of America, our affiliates, and the more than 650,000 people that we serve, I thank you for being a leading example of what greatness should look like in the community. So thank you.
Well, thank you. And I would be remiss if I didn't say that all of this whole thing about autism, God knew what he was doing when he gave you a child with autism.
Yes. For you and for him, right? Because I know that Donald's brought so much into your lives, both you and your husband and your son, right? So
it's amazing.
yeah, all right.
And I would also be remiss if I didn't introduce my husband who's sitting here.
So those who can't see on the camera, Bill is off to the right. Well, thank you and congratulations. A well-deserved honor and recognition. I might say a little overdue, but well done, well deserved.
Well,
Thank
thank
you.
you very much, Chris.
Thank you.
Yeah.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Right. Elaine, I was at that board meeting when you stood up and you waited in line, got to the microphone and said exactly what Chris said you said. And it's amazing you wouldn't remember that, because what an impact that really did make. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now we're extremely excited and pleased to introduce to you the former CEO of and president of the Autism Society of America, who's known Elaine for quite a long time. And he's currently a consultant with, he'll tell you all about it. Um, it's my pleasure to introduce to you Scott Badish.
Thank you. Back. The worst thing to show a camera, right? Elaine, I was sitting here listening to everything that's going on, and I realized when you first came here and when your son was born, it was legal to discriminate at public schools. And I remember talking with Ruth and you about what life was like when your son was in grammar school and, and could be denied housing, could be denied everything. And what always amazed me was how you and Mark and everyone got together to say, this is wrong. And it's the best example I've ever seen in my career before I retired of people just getting together in a very pleasant and wonderful way to make things better. And as I sit here listening, I'm also a beneficiary of your work. And that's why I wanted to come here. My son Evan, who's autistic, is a proud graduate of Marshall. Go Herd, right? That's what I'm supposed to say. Every time you say it's Marshall. And just coming here, and I started to see what Mark was doing and what they were doing in Autism Service Center and what they were doing in the Autism Society of River Cities. And you said this community really has its act together. It really works well. And then when you think about the walk, about how money was split among 3 agencies, that doesn't happen anymore. Usually you get 3 different agencies having 3 different walks on the same day and competing. But you saw the need that you can't just have one agency do it all. It's this miraculous group of pulling people together. And that's something very special about you. And I remember the first time I met you, there's certain people you meet in your life and you say, I don't want to have anything to do with this person. And I remember the first time I said, this is a person I want to get to know. And anytime you would call me and I would see the number, I'd say, this is good. I'm going to be a better person when I'm done. But I have another task here. Elaine knew when she put the rally together that money was needed. And the last year has been very difficult for 3 agencies, as you know. The Autism Service Center has had to deal with COVID in an environment where it wasn't easy. The needs were greater. More people are asking help. The Autism Service Center, their numbers are sky high because people, it wasn't easy for any of us to go through this pandemic, but let alone when you have a family with autism. And then the Autism Society of River City is just answering calls and helping people. And then you look at like what Chris is doing about your idea of acceptance. That's, we got to accept people. Chris said it perfectly. It starts with inclusion. And we can move the wheel. So what I want to do is encourage the people out there to give to this rally. So if they pay $25 to get a T-shirt and a walk, give the $25 again this year. And if you could even give more, because it'll be equally split among the 3 agencies. But you're talking about 2 years of no walk, which just to these agencies amounted to about $50,000, $60,000 each. And that's a sizable amount of money. And we discussed having to walk this year, and we couldn't. So I think if people out there listening really want to honor and thank Elaine, hit the donate button and give some money, because it's the way to continue these services. And also look at the Autism Society of America. I don't say that because I'm the former director, but it's a lot of what happens here is coordinated. A lot of the benefits here are handled by the national office. People out there, if you could give and give to this community. But you're a lifesaver. It's, to me, the heroes of the autism movement were those who said, I have a son who needs significant help, but I'm going to help others. And that's what your whole life has been. And you got a long time ahead. This thing is there's a lot more T-shirts to come before you stop. I know that. And Bill, thank you for all you're doing. I know sometimes you say, where's my wife? And she's got probably 10,000 T-shirts around there and putting everything in a bag and said, I want my living room. But you've given us your wife, your kids have given us that. And that's something real special. And this is a better place for people with autism. It's a better community because people care. And
You know, I don't know if they do a Huntington Citizen of the Year or Mayor's Proclamation, but if anyone is more deserving of it, it's you. So God bless you. And people out there, hit that donate button. Go to the Autism Society of America website, give, because people need help right now. So God bless you. And I could tell you that the three agencies, not only do they use the money for the most greatest need, but it's they're cheap. They don't have a lot of expenses. If you could see this studio, well, I think we have to get the rental stuff back in a couple hours, so we got to hurry up. But they're all driven by a passion, and Chris the same way, of wanting to do good. That's your passion. That's Ruth's passion, and that's something money doesn't buy, but it's people who give it to. So God bless you. Thank you, and thank God for putting the two of you on earth to help us, because we're all better for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Scott. Well, we're starting to wind down, but before we do, this is a little bit of a mix for those of you who are old enough to remember of This Is Your Life and Queen for a Day. Y'all remember that? Yay. So, Elaine, these are for you.
Thank you.
Red roses to show our love. And here's your tiara.
Oh.
I'm going to mess up your pretty hair. Oh, that looks good.
Can you get it to stick?
Yay. And I'd like to thank a few people. I'd like to thank Jimmy Jarrell, who is the genius behind putting all of this together for us. And also Tim Huff, who's working remotely, that helped us tremendously in putting this together. And last but not least, Bill, would you just kind of move in a little bit? We want to see your face. This is Bill Harvey, who has supported Elaine. Move in a little bit more. Yay.
Hi.
That's Elaine's amazing, dedicated.
Better hat.
Better hat. Thank you. He said it well. Thank you all for tuning in. We hope that you will consider a donation. But we're just so happy that you're participating with us to show our love for this amazing, amazing woman. Bless you, Elaine, and thank you for everything you've done.
Thank you, Barbara. This has been a very special, special evening. And I thank you for everything that everybody said. I still don't know that I'm worthy, but.
Oh, well, we got to work on it a little more.
It
Thank
was
you.
just marvelous.
Good night, everyone.